The cabin carries that familiar sense of normalcy that only repetition can create. A constant engine hum fills the space, overhead lights glow without warmth, and plastic cups tremble faintly as the plane moves through calm air. United Airlines Flight 237 glides above a stretch of desert sky. And there is nothing about this moment that hints it will matter later. Nothing suggests it will be recalled, replayed, or questioned. Elena Ward sits by herself in seat C12A, the window at her side, her hands resting loosely together in her lap. Her back is straight, not rigid, simply trained. It is the posture of someone who learned long ago how to sit alert without appearing tense. She wears simple clothes, unremarkable, chosen not to explain anything about who she is. Her boots are worn, scuffed leather, pressed flat against the cabin floor, and they draw brief, cautious glances from the man seated next to her. The businessman in C1B looks down at his phone, then away, then back again. His eyes pause on the faint pale lines along her forearm. They linger on the way. She never shifts her weight, never taps her foot, never adjusts herself the way most people do without thinking. He types a few words, stops, deletes them, then types again. Something about her unsettles him. He cannot name it, only feel it. The flight attendant stops beside them, efficient and polite, her voice practiced. She offers coffee. Elena nods once. Black. No conversation follows. The attendant moves on, sensing a boundary that is closed but not hostile. No one speaks. No one needs to. Elena notices everything anyway. The looks. The space people keep. The quiet judgments forming without words. She does not respond to any of it. She never has. Then the captain's voice cuts through the cabin, smooth and controlled. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Please remain seated. We have been informed that 2 Air Force fighter jets are now escorting our aircraft. A pause follows, then the familiar cadence of a scripted interruption. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Military and Veteran Stories so you never miss these true accounts of courage. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from today. When the announcement ends, Elena does not turn toward the window. Her eyes stay forward, unfocused, fixed on nothing at all. She lets the low vibration of the engines settle deeper into her chest. Her breathing remains steady, measured the way it was trained to be years ago. Panic moves through the cabin like shifting air pressure, brushing past her without landing. It never breaks the surface. What she feels instead is fatigue, the kind that sinks into bone and does not respond to rest. It is the exhaustion of months spent learning how to exist without a mission, without a team behind her, without the certainty of knowing exactly where she belongs. Retirement was meant to feel like freedom. Instead, it feels like wearing the wrong uniform while standing in front of a door that will not open. She never wanted to travel under her real name. She objected once, quietly, without drama. The response came back sharp and final: protocol, paperwork, formalities. She entered her name anyway. Each letter heavier than the last. Elena Ward, no call sign, no buffer. Just the name that still carries weight she no longer wants to hold. Her injury announces itself subtly. A stiffness when the aircraft shifts. The deliberate angle of her leg when she crosses it. Anyone paying close attention might catch the way she adjusts before discomfort has time to show. There is no brace, no limp, nothing obvious. Just pain that learned to stay quiet instead of leaving. The atmosphere in the cabin has changed. Murmurs turn into whispers. Passengers glance toward the windows, then back to their phones, then again toward her boots. The man beside her sits straighter now, his shoulders pulled tight. She does not hear his questions, but she feels them. Is she dangerous? Is she connected? Is she the reason something is wrong? At best, they assume former military. At worst, they assume she is the problem. Her phone vibrates once against her thigh. She does not grab it immediately. She waits a breath. Then another, as if hesitation might soften what she already expects. When she finally looks, the name on the screen tightens something beneath her ribs: Captain Noah Reed. She stares at it longer than necessary. Noah led her team for 7 years. He was never loud, never dramatic. He led by standing where things failed first, by speaking after everyone else had finished, by understanding when silence carried more authority than commands. His message is brief. Tomorrow is still on. I know you don't want it. I know why. Just don't disappear on me. There is no rank attached. No call sign. Just the voice of someone who stood beside her when language stopped working. She replies with one hand, thumb steady. I'll be there. Nothing more. No comfort. No explanation. She locks the phone before she can say anything she cannot take back. The truth presses heavily against her chest. She does not want to be remembered. Memory turns people into stories, and stories erase the sharp edges, the parts that still wake her in the dark. She does not want praise for moments that ended with empty positions in a formation. She does not want her name spoken without the others that should follow it. In her mind, her usefulness ended the day she walked out of a medical boardroom holding a piece of paper and a handshake. They called it honorable. They called it necessary. They never called it easy. She thanked them, nodded, and left without looking back. What she never learned to admit out loud is that public honor frightens her more than judgment ever could. Judgment fades. Applause stays. Applause asks you to stand still and accept things you are not sure you earned. The aircraft continues smoothly through the sky. Now accompanied by shapes most passengers do not truly understand. Elena still does not look for them. She already knows they are there. She can feel it in the air, in the altered rhythm, in the quiet signal that something has begun. Somewhere behind her, a man clears his throat. Toward the front, a child asks a question that no one answers. The cabin fills with people trying to decide whether they should be afraid or impressed. None of them consider the truth. None of them imagine that the woman sitting quietly by the window, already judged and dismissed in their own ways, is the reason the sky has taken notice. Elena remains still, eyes forward, hands steady. She learned long ago that silence does not make you invisible. It only postpones the moment when the world decides to remember. The captain's voice comes back again, calm to the point of effort. He thanks the passengers for their patience and explains that the escort is part of routine security measures. The words are meant to calm. They fail. Phones rise throughout the cabin. Screens glow. People lean into the aisle, craning past strangers to catch a glimpse of wings already crowded with faces. Someone whispers the word hijacking. Someone else suggests a military exercise. A woman lets out a sharp, nervous laugh and stops when no one joins her. Fear searches for a shape it can recognize and finds none. Elena stays seated. She does not reach for her phone. She does not follow the others toward the windows. She knows the sound of real panic, and this is not it yet. This is uncertainty waiting for permission to become something worse. The businessman beside her finally turns fully toward her. Not confrontational, not accusing, just enough to confirm his suspicion. His eyes drop to her boots, then to her hands. He notices how completely still they are. That unsettles him more than scars ever could. Across the cabin, someone mutters that fighter escorts only appear when something is wrong. Another passenger says the Air Force does not guard civilian planes unless it has to. Someone claims they saw this once on the news. No one talks about honor. No one considers gratitude. They are all searching for a threat. At last, Elena turns her gaze toward the window. The fighter jets hold position just beyond the wing, close enough now that she can read their intent. They are not drifting. They are not casual. They are tight, deliberate, disciplined. They are ready. They are not hostile. Their formation is exact, controlled, protective. The distance between them is measured, intentional. This is not a reaction to a threat inside the aircraft. It is containment, yes, but not the kind driven by panic. Elena studies the lead jet first. Angle, speed, separation. The pilot holds position with disciplined restraint, matching the airliner's movement without flare or warning. No intimidation. No display. The second jet mirrors the first perfectly. This is an escort meant to be visible. Meant to be understood. Her jaw tightens, just enough to feel it. This is not routine. Inside the cabin, the quiet finally fractures. Voices rise where silence had been. Questions form without answers. A man 2 rows ahead stands abruptly and is told, firmly, to sit back down. A flight attendant moves through the aisle with a smile stretched thin at the edges, repeating the same lines, like armor. Please remain seated. Everything is under control. Elena senses the shift before it fully arrives. The air changes. Attention stops scattering and begins to circle. She has known rooms like this. Moments before reality pushes through denial, she reaches into her pocket at last and brings out her phone, keeping the screen angled low. She bypasses the open network and opens a secure channel that has gone untouched for months. The call connects faster than she expects. Maya, comes the voice, clear and immediate. Lieutenant Colonel Maya Chen does not waste time with greetings. Where are you? Elena keeps her voice quiet, level. Commercial flight. San Diego, to Washington. We're being escorted. There is a pause. Not hesitation, calculation. That's not routine, Maya says. Not for that airspace. Not like that. Elena watches the jet maintain its position, unwavering. Then, what is it? Another pause. Longer. Maya exhales slowly. I'm checking. Stay where you are. The word stay almost draws a smile from Elena. Some habits never fade. Around her, the tension tightens further. Fingers point. Someone whispers that the jets are closing in. They are not. They have not moved an inch from their measured distance. Fear does not care about precision. The businessman beside her finally speaks, offering a single sentence, careful and restrained. Do you think we're in danger? Elena turns her head toward him for the first time. She meets his eyes without emotion. No. The certainty in her voice does not reassure him. It unsettles him. He nods anyway and looks away. Her phone vibrates again. Maya's voice returns, different now. This is not curiosity. This is confirmation taking shape. I need to ask you something. Go ahead. Are you flying under your real name? The question lands heavily, not loud, but final. Elena does not answer right away. She looks back out at the sky, at the jets holding their precise line, at the discipline that suddenly feels personal. Yes, she says at last. Maya swears quietly. Elena hears it clearly. That explains it. Explains what? Another pause. Longer this time. When Maya speaks again, she chooses her words carefully. The way officers do when they step between systems that were never meant to overlap. Your name is flagged, Elena, not as a threat. As a priority. High-value protective protocols. Something hollow opens in Elena's chest. That doesn't make sense, she says. I'm retired. Retired doesn't erase you, Maya replies. Not from joint databases, not after everything. Elena closes her eyes briefly. Everything is what people say when they don't want to list names. The cabin swells again, voices overlapping now. Someone claims there are more jets. Someone insists the pilot is lying. A man laughs too loudly and says, "This is insane." Phones are raised everywhere, recording, documenting, trying to pin meaning to confusion. Somewhere behind her, a woman begins to cry, quietly, without drawing attention. What would you do in her place? Correct them, or stay silent? Elena opens her eyes. Maya is still speaking. If the manifest was checked, she continues, and your name came up, then this escort isn't about what might happen. It's about making sure nothing does. Elena presses her thumb against the edge of her phone, grounding herself. I didn't ask for this. I know, Maya says. But the system doesn't care what you ask for. It cares what you represent. Elena almost laughs. Represent. She has spent months trying to represent nothing at all. She ends the call without ceremony and slips the phone away. She does not want more details. Understanding would mean admitting what is already unfolding. The cabin begins to quiet, not because fear has vanished, but because something else is replacing it. Curiosity sharpens. Eyes return to her, no longer suspicious, now evaluative. People are asking a different question. Who is she? A retired Marine a few rows back leans into the aisle, studying the way Elena sits, the way she breathes. He does not look afraid. He looks like someone recognizing a familiar pattern. The businessman beside her shifts, suddenly conscious of himself. He straightens his jacket and clears his throat again. Elena feels the moment closing in from every direction. She wants to stay silent. She wants to remain just another passenger who happened to sit by the window on an unusual flight. But the sky does not behave like this without cause. She has believed every day since leaving the only role that ever fit her, that she no longer matters. The system disagrees. Outside, the jets hold formation, patient and exact. Inside, the cabin waits. Elena Ward remains still, knowing the space between anonymity and memory has closed. Whether she welcomes it or not, the cockpit door stays shut, but the change reaches the cabin anyway. It arrives through the intercom first, not in words, but in timing. A pause before the captain responds to air traffic control. A clipped acknowledgement where routine chatter should be. The kind of restraint that signals a shift just beyond civilian awareness. Elena hears it instantly. She tilts her head a fraction, listening beneath the noise, beneath the murmurs, to the cadence underneath. The aircraft remains steady, but the coordination around it has tightened. She can feel it, the way she once did pressure building before contact. Nothing dramatic. Just intent coming into focus. Outside the window, the two fighter jets adjust their spacing. The movement is subtle enough that most passengers never notice. They are closer now, more deliberate, more committed. Aligned, moving with a precision that leaves no space for improvisation. This is no longer a symbolic presence. This is intention made visible. The cabin senses the change, even if no one can articulate it. The earlier panic does not return. Instead, a heavier calm settles in, quieter, more controlled. Voices fall away. People stop talking over one another. Phones stay raised, but sound drops to a murmur. Fear gives way to curiosity, and curiosity carries a pressure of its own. Elena remains motionless. Her stillness begins to stand out now, not because she seeks attention, but because she does not reflect the tension around her. When others lean forward, she stays back. When eyes dart to the windows, hers remain level. She neither smiles nor frowns. She looks like someone waiting for something she already understands. 2 rows behind her, a man shifts in his seat. He is older, broad-shouldered, his posture worn but unbroken. His cap is plain, marked only by a faded emblem most civilians would never recognize. He does not look at Elena's boots. He does not study her clothes. His attention rests on her shoulders, the alignment of her spine, the way her head tilts when the engines subtly change pitch. Recognition does not arrive all at once. It never does. The escort tightens again. This time, even untrained eyes catch it. A ripple of murmurs moves through the cabin as shapes appear where there were none moments before. Another pair of fighter jets slides into view, seamless and silent, taking their positions with quiet authority. No alarms sound. No explanation follows. The sky simply fills with purpose. A child presses his face to the window and whispers something to his mother. She pulls him back gently, her hand trembling despite her effort to steady it. The flight attendants move with renewed focus. Their smiles remain, but they no longer linger. Seatbelts are checked. Instructions are repeated. Questions are sidestepped. One attendant glances toward the cockpit, then down the aisle. Then briefly toward Elena before realizing what she is doing and looking away. Elena feels the attention. Brushing past her now light, persistent. It is no longer suspicion. It is assessment. People are beginning to sense that the answer they are searching for is not outside the aircraft. Her phone stays dark. She does not reach for it again. Whatever is happening no longer requires her participation. It is already moving along tracks laid long before this plane ever left the ground. Through the low static of the cabin speakers, a fragment of sound slips through. It is not intended for passengers. It rides the edge of encrypted traffic, distorted and brief, nearly swallowed by engine hum and whispered conversations. Iron Fist. The words are faint, almost lost. No one reacts. No one hears them for what they are. To the cabin, it is just noise, another meaningless syllable in a sky full of technical language. Elena hears it, Her fingers tighten once against the armrest, then release. Her expression does not change. If anyone is watching closely, they miss it. The moment passes like a breath held and let go. The retired Marine behind her leans back slowly, his eyes narrowing just slightly. He does not smile. He does not lean forward. He exhales, long and quiet, as if a final piece of a puzzle has settled into place without needing to be spoken aloud. The businessman beside Elena shifts again, glancing at her with a new expression. Not fear, not judgment, something closer to uncertainty. He opens his mouth as if to speak, then thinks better of it, and turns back to his screen. No explanation comes. The captain does not mention the additional jets. The cockpit remains silent. The escort holds tight. The plane continues on course as though nothing has changed, even as everything has. Unease drifts through the cabin, slowly reshaping itself into something sharper. People stop asking what is happening. They begin asking why. And behind that question, another forms quietly. Who would warrant this? Elena sits by the window, eyes forward, breathing steady. The truth is close now. Close enough to feel, still, just beyond reach. And the sky-disciplined patient keeps its secret a little longer. The call does not come through the cabin speakers. It comes through Elena's phone, a single vibration, sharp and deliberate, as if it knows exactly how much noise it is permitted to make. She does not answer immediately. Around her, the aircraft hums on, stabilized by forces no one inside can see. The cabin has settled into something watchful, neither calm nor afraid. Suspended between realization and denial. Elena lifts the phone and brings it to her ear, angling her body just enough to shield the screen. "Ward," she says, her voice low, even professional. "Commander Elena Ward." A voice responds, clipped and precise. "This is Lieutenant Colonel Jack Hayes, United States Air Force. Call sign Viper. I am lead on your escort." Elena exhales softly through her nose, barely visible. "Go ahead." There is no urgency in his tone. No alarm, only control. "Commander, I need to confirm identity for protocol. Can you verify your call sign?" For a moment, the aircraft feels very small. Elena looks out the window again. The lead jet holds position perfectly aligned with the wing. She can almost picture the pilot inside. Helmeted head turned just enough to glance back at the aircraft he is guarding. "Iron Fist," she says. Silence fills the line. 1 second. Maybe 2. Not confusion. Recognition. Double quotes. "Yes, ma'am," Viper says finally, and the word carries a different weight now. The procedural edge fades, replaced by something restrained but unmistakable. "Iron Fist confirmed." Elena closes her eyes briefly, then opens them. "You can use, Commander," she says. "I'm retired." "Yes, ma'am," he replies. And "No, ma'am. Not to us." The cabin feels it before it hears anything. The shift is subtle but absolute, like a room sensing the arrival of someone important without a word being spoken. Viper continues, his voice steady, no longer just for her. "We were not briefed on your presence prior to intercept. Standard escort assignment only. Once your identity was verified, escort parameters were updated." "Updated how?" Elena asks, though she already knows. "In honor configuration, ma'am." Her jaw tightens. "That's not necessary." There is a pause. Respectful this time. "With permission, Iron Fist," Viper says. "It absolutely is." Outside, movement draws the cabin's attention again. Not sudden, not aggressive, but undeniable. Another pair of fighter jets slides into formation, cling, synchronized, taking position farther out before easing inward with deliberate precision. Phones lower. Whispers fade mid. The panic that once sparked through the cabin drains away, leaving behind something denser, heavier, almost reverent in its uncertainty. No one is bracing for disaster anymore. They are trying to comprehend scale. The businessman beside Elena goes completely still, his eyes locked on the window. He swallows, then slowly turns toward her. He does not speak. He does not have to. Viper's voice returns, quieter now, meant only for her. "Ma'am, if I may say so." It's an honor to fly with you today. Elena does not respond. We studied your operations at Nellis, he continues. Ramadi, Mosul, and other work that never left closed rooms. Your call sign isn't a nickname to us. It's a reference. Elena shifts slightly in her seat, adjusting the angle of her leg, grounding herself in the small physical reality of the moment. You don't need to do this, she says again. Ma'am, Viper replies gently, we don't do this for just anyone. Outside, the escort tightens once more. The formation becomes unmistakably ceremonial. Not a wall, a frame. The jets hold their positions with the kind of discipline reserved for parades, funerals, and moments meant to be remembered. Inside the cabin, silence spreads. It is not ordered. It simply arrives, as if everyone has collectively decided not to interrupt something they do not yet understand. A flight attendant stops mid-step, one hand resting on a seat. Her eyes are wide but steady. She looks from the window to Elena, then back again, as if checking alignment. 2 rows behind, the retired Marine straightens fully in his seat. His gaze no longer searches. He is no longer guessing. He is waiting. Elena keeps the phone to her ear. Viper, this is a civilian aircraft. Yes, ma'am, he answers. And you are a civilian passenger. But you are also Iron Fist. Those things can exist at the same time. She closes her eyes again, longer now. When she opens them, moisture threatens, but does not fall. Not here, not now. The call ends cleanly. No farewell. No ceremony. Elena lowers the phone into her lap. The aircraft continues forward, but the emotional direction has shifted completely. Where fear once pressed, gravity settles. People are no longer afraid. They are careful, curious, respectful without knowing why. Someone whispers, "Who is she?" No one answers. A child asks his mother why the jets look like they're protecting them. She hesitates, then says softly, "Maybe they are." The businessman beside Elena clears his throat. He opens his mouth, closes it again. Finally, he tries. "Ma'am." He stops, unsure what title belongs there. Elena does not turn toward him. She does not need to. What would you do in her place? Correct them, or remain silent? The cabin feels smaller now, not from fear, but from focus. Attention has narrowed. People watch Elena without staring, sensing boundaries they instinctively do not want to cross. The flight attendants move differently, now slower, more deliberate. One approaches Elena's row, stops, and simply nods once before moving on. No questions. No offers. Outside, the jets hold formation. Perfect, patient. This is no longer just about safety. This is recognition in motion. Elena believes she no longer matters. She has believed it since the day she turned in gear that still carried the heat of places she would never return to. She built her life around that belief, brick by careful brick. The system does not share it. The system remembers. The cabin waits, no longer asking what is happening, but quietly, almost reverently, beginning to ask the only question left. Who would command this kind of sky? The confirmation does not arrive with drama. It comes on footsteps in the aisle. The flight attendant stops beside Elena's row, posture straight but uncertain. Her voice lowers instinctively, as if the cabin itself has taught her how to speak now. "Ma'am," she says, "the captain asked me to let you know. The escort is for you." Elena looks up at her for the first time since the call ended. She gives a small nod, nothing more. The attendant swallows, blinks once, and steps back as if she has crossed an invisible line. She does not ask questions. She does not offer anything else. She simply moves away, her hands trembling just enough to notice. That is all it takes. The businessman beside Elena pulls out his phone. His finger moves quickly, now not nervously, but with purpose. He types her name, Elena Ward. He scrolls, stops, scrolls again. His expression shifts in stages: confusion, focus, then disbelief, carefully restrained. He tilts the screen slightly, just enough for the woman across the aisle to see. She leans in. Her eyes widen. She says nothing, but the look passes on. Seat by seat, a ripple of quiet realization spreads. No headlines. No sensational phrasing. Just declassified references. A blurred photograph. Dates without detail. Enough for those who know how to read between lines. The cabin does not erupt. It stills. 2 rows back, the older man in the faded cap rises from his seat. He does not hurry. He steps into the aisle with the care of someone who understands when speed would be disrespect. His back is straight. His movements measured. He stops beside Elena's row and faces her fully. Sergeant Thomas Hale, United States Marine Corps, retired, he says. Clear enough to be heard. Quiet enough to remain personal. Desert Storm, Fallujah, later on. He pauses, then continues. I served with men who spoke your call sign like it was a standard, not a story. Elena meets his eyes. She does not interrupt. I don't know the details, Hale says, and I don't need them. I just wanted to thank you. Not for heroics. For discipline. For the ones who came home because someone held the line when it mattered. There is no tremor in his voice. No performance. Only weight. Elena stands. Not quickly. Not slowly. Exactly when respect demands it. The movement sends a visible shock through the cabin. Seats creak. Breaths catch. Hale raises his hand and delivers a crisp salute in the narrow aisle. Sharp. Unmistakable. Elena returns it without hesitation. Muscle memory carries her cleanly through the motion. Perfect. The exchange lasts only a second. It changes everything. The cabin freezes around them. No one speaks. No one films. Phones lower, as if guided by the same unspoken rule. Even the engines seem quieter. The aircraft holding its course through a sky suddenly heavy with meaning. Elena lowers her hand first and sits back down. Hale nods once, steps aside, and returns to his seat without another word. The silence holds. And, within that silence, the truth settles, not as spectacle, but as weight. The intercom clicks softly, almost apologetic in its timing. The cabin straightens without instruction. Everyone feels the difference between a captain speaking and something else entirely. This is Lieutenant Colonel Jack Hayes, United States Air Force, the voice says. Call sign Viper. I am the lead pilot assigned to this escort. He does not raise his voice. He does not pause for emphasis. He speaks the way professionals do when they understand that every word will land exactly where it must. Ladies and gentlemen, the escort you are observing today is not in response to a threat. It is not a drill. It is an honors detail. A single breath moves through the cabin, slow and shared. We were tasked with ensuring the safe passage of Commander Elena Ward, United States Navy, retired. Call sign, Iron Fist. No one moves. No outward reaction breaks the moment. The silence deepens, dense and focused. Commander Ward's service spans decades of joint operations, Viper continues. Much of it will never be discussed publicly. That is, as it should be. But among those who serve, her name is taught not as legend, but as reference. As the standard we measure ourselves against, Elena lowers her gaze to her hands. She keeps them steady. This escort, Viper says, is not about celebration. It is about recognition. It is about ensuring that those who carried the weight of others did not carry it alone on the way home. The intercom clicks off. There is no applause. No clapping. No one rises. The gravity of the moment does not invite sound. It invites stillness. Outside the window, the sky begins to change. As the aircraft descends, the fighters adjust formation one final time. The lead jet eases forward, then banks away clean, deliberate peeling off in a smooth arc. One by one, the others follow. Each separation precise, disciplined, ceremonial. It is a missing man, pattern not for the fallen, but for the living who carry them. Passengers watch in silence. Some press fingers to their lips. Some close their eyes. No one lifts a phone. Elena watches too, her expression unreadable. She knows what the maneuver means. She has witnessed it from the ground. She never imagined seeing it for herself. The plane touches down gently, the tires meeting the runway with a softness that feels intentional. As the aircraft rolls forward, lights appear along the taxiway. Fire trucks. Emergency vehicles parked in quiet formation. Lights flashing without sirens, without urgency. A silent corridor. The flight attendant stands straighter now, hands folded, eyes damp but controlled. The retired Marine sits at attention without realizing he has done so. The businessman removes his glasses and bows his head. The aircraft passes beneath arcs of water rising into the air, catching the light and breaking it into muted color. No announcement explains it. None is required. This is not a celebration. It is a passage. The captain's voice returns briefly, steady but thick, welcoming everyone to Washington and thanking them for their cooperation. He adds nothing more. He does not need to. The plane slows, then stops. No one moves. Elena remains seated, shoulders squared, gaze forward. She does not search faces. She does not look for reactions. The honor has arrived whether she wanted it or not, and she carries it the only way she knows how. Quietly, respect fills the cabinet, as sound, but as presence, and for the first time since the flight began, no one wonders why the sky paid attention. They understand. The jetway door opens and the noise of the airport spills in, then fades almost immediately. At the end of the gate stands a formation that does not belong to timetables or terminals. Navy, dress whites, Marine greens, Army blues, Air Force service coats. Shoulder to shoulder, motionless. Elena pauses at the threshold. She did not know this was coming. The realization settles heavy, but she steps forward anyway. Rear Admiral Jonathan Keller stands at the front. He does not speak. He raises his hand and delivers the first salute clean sharp. The sound is answered instantly, as the entire formation moves as one. A single wave of respect passes through the terminal, precise and unmistakable. Elena returns the salute, her arm steady despite the weight pressing behind her eyes. Command Master Chief Olivia Grant steps forward. Her voice is calm, firm, carrying without effort. Being a SEAL does not end when the uniform comes off, she says. The trident does not disappear. It becomes a responsibility. You are still one of us. Always. Elena nods once. That is all she can manage. Then someone breaks formation. Captain Noah Reed crosses the space between them without asking permission. Rank dissolves. Protocol gives way to something older. He pulls her into a brief, tight embrace the kind teammates share when words fall short. He steps back just enough to meet her eyes. You don't get to disappear, he says quietly. Not from us. She exhales, uneven, despite her effort. For the first time that day, her composure fractures. Just slightly. 6 months later, Elena stands in a quiet classroom at the Naval Special Warfare Center. The walls are bare. The candidates seated before her are young, alert, waiting. She introduces herself without embellishment. Some recognize the name, some do not. That is not the point. She speaks to them about responsibility, about decisions that follow you long after the noise fades, about carrying the names of those who did not come back not as burdens, but as guides. She tells them that courage is not loud and leadership is rarely clean. She tells them that surviving does not end the mission. One candidate asks how you live with loss. Elena answers without pause. You carry it forward. You make choices. Then you honor it. You don't forget. When the room empties, she remains a moment longer, hands resting on the desk, grounded. Honor is not volume. It is memory that refuses to fade. Some stories are not meant to be loud. They are meant to stay with you, the way a memory does long after the moment has passed. Elena Ward did not ask to be seen. She did not ask to be remembered. And yet her journey reminds us that service leaves echoes even when those who carried the weight try to walk quietly away. Courage does not always announce itself. Sometimes it sits by a window unnoticed, carrying names no one else can see. And sometimes the world pauses just long enough to acknowledge that sacrifice is not erased by time or retirement. If this story moved you, take a moment to reflect on the men and women who carry their service forward in silence every day. And if you enjoyed this story, please subscribe for more military and veteran stories. These stories keep courage alive for generations to come.